Good day everyone, welcome to ITS 306. This is Web Development 2. This is for sections A and B. Today we're going to have another pre-recorded class. This is a continuation to our discussion about designing a website or web designing. So my name is Julius, your instructor. Please be sure to watch the entire video, listen and understand the lessons attentively. Right after this class, we're going to have an assessment, and assignment will be posted later on. So without any further ado, let's get started. By the way, if you have any questions or comments regarding today's lesson, please go ahead and comment your questions down to our Facebook group post, or you can send in your questions to our respective Facebook chat groups. So previously, we learned about designing a website's user interface, and we worked with the second part with designing the front end. And then today we are going to add responsiveness to our website. So again, just a recap. This is going to be our the steps on designing a website. So first is designing the front end using designing the front end markup using HTML. And then front-end designing or formatting CSS using CSS. And then this time we're going to be adding responsiveness. Alright, so responsive web design. Adding responsiveness to a web page means enabling the page to adapt to different screen sizes and resolution. So as you all know, there are different ways where we can access the internet. So most common would be using desktop or laptop computers. And then nowadays, the use of mobile devices for accessing the internet is rapidly growing. So we are using mobile phones or tablets in accessing the internet. Comparing these devices, so we have desktop or laptop. Obviously, it's got different size as for the screen. Laptop and desktop have different screen sizes compared to tablets and Android phones or iPhones, diba? So that's why it's very important to make sure that our website is capable of adapting to different screen sizes and resolution. Because by default, if we're not going to add responsiveness to our design, then there might be chance that the design or your website will work or will display properly on a specific device, let's say a desktop, depending on which device you intended it to work on, and then it may not appear or it may not display properly on some other devices like mobile phones. All right. So again, it's very important to add responsiveness to your website. In that way, it will be able to adapt to different screen sizes and resolution. That is the purpose for today's lesson. So in adding responsiveness to our website, we will be using the @media rule in CSS. The @media rule is used in media queries to apply different styles for different media types or devices. The media queries can be used to check many things such as width and height of the viewport, width and height of the device, orientation, is the tablet or phone is landscape or portrait mode, and then of course the resolution. Okay, so again, we'll be using the @media rule that is using CSS. So for us to be able to add responsiveness to our website, there's only one thing that we're going to do. We're going to use CSS to do so. So this is going to be the syntax. So first is we have @media, that is the rule, and then not or only, and then media type, and then media feature, and or not media feature. And then after that, we're going to add the CSS block, which is of course start beginning with the curly bracket, and then the CSS code, and of course close it with a curly bracket. Okay, so not only and what does it mean? So when you say not, if we're going to use not, the not keyword inverts the meaning of the entire media query. That means everything will not work. And then only, the keyword only prevents older browsers that do not support media queries with media features from applying the specified styles. It has no effect on modern browsers. So we'll be using only to make sure that older browsers will not be able to use this media rule. And then the and keyword combines the media feature with a media type or other media features. So they are all optional. All of these, getting not only and are optional. However, if you use not and only, you must also specify a media type. So what exactly these media types and media features? Let's talk about media types. So basically, media types refers to the the media, or basically the media where the website will be, the pages or the web page will be displayed. So the value would be all. This would be the default used for all media types of media type devices. So again, so we have at media and then media type. So when say, for example, if you will say media at media and then all, that means everything that will be, all the CSS codes or CSS properties will be applied to all of the media. What are these media? We have print, screen, and speech. So for print, used for printers. So that means if we're going to print the website, everything that will be, all the CSS properties will only apply if we are going to print the media or the web page. The screen will apply if, the CSS properties will apply if the website or the web page is displayed on computer screens like browser, diba? Tablets, smartphones, etc., which is the most common because basically we are using, or we try to access inner or web pages most of the time sa screen or kana sa browsers. And then speech used for screen readers that reads the page out loud. All right, so basically these are, the media types where CSS can be used, but most of the time we'll be using screen, unless if it's necessary that we are going to print the web page and we want the printed web page to display differently. That's the time that we'll be using print. But most of the time we'll be using screen, especially now that we are designing. All right, so that is the media types. That's one, getting apart. How about the media feature? All right. The media feature refers to the instances, or but let's say the condition on how the website is going to display. So we have height, max width, minimum width, and orientation. So basically, depending on how the browser acts, so basically, this is the media feature. So, for example, the media or the following CSS properties will only work to a specific height or to a specific width, a specific maximum height, maximum width, so on and so forth. So these are just some of the media features, but there are tons of media features more, and these are just the common ones. So to access or to learn more about the complete list of the media features, click this link, or you can go to here, right? Copy the link, or you can go to w3schools.org. I'm sorry. Okay. w3schools.com rather, and look for CSS media. There. Media rule. And here are the media features. We have any hover and then the description and when to use it. So as you can see, there are a lot of media features that can be used depending on the purpose of using the media rule. Okay, but the most common would be this: the height, max width, minimum width, and orientation. So when we say height, it is used for all media type devices, that is the default. And then for width, we are going to set the viewport width. When we say the viewport, that is basically the screen size. And then we have max height, max width. Basically, these are the maximum and maximum height and maximum width of the display area, such as the browser window. Same with the minimum height, minimum width, that is the display area. The maximum height and or minimum height and minimum width of the display area, such as browser window, and then orientation, whether the browser screen is on landscape or portrait mode. Okay, so let's say for example, so this example will hide an element when the browser width is 600 pixels wide or less. So for example, so basically this is gonna be the media rule. So we have at media screen. So again, we have at media, and then the screen here is the media type. So again, we have 4 different media types. We have all, print, screen, and readers. So if we will write screen, that means this is intended for browsers, and the maximum width is 600px. So whenever the maximum of the width of the browser is more than 600px, then this will not work. However, if the width of the screen is 600 and below, then this particular element, it will hide this particular element because the property says display none, meaning it's going to hide it. All right. So anyway, let's have a practical example. So in this example, we will use media query to set the background color to lavender if the viewport is 1080 pixels wide or wider. And then it will change the background color to light green if the viewport is between 720 to 1079 pixels wide. If the viewport is smaller than 720 pixels, the background color is gonna be light blue. So this is gonna be the code. So by default, the background color is light blue, diba? However, we're going to set the media, the screen, if the minimum width is 720 pixel, then it will change the background color to light green. However, if the media and then or the screen or I'm sorry, the minimum width is 1080p or pixels, then the background color is going to be lavender. All right. So again, how we're going to write that? So we have at, and then word media, and then screen. That is our media type, and then and. That means it's going to combine the screen and the condition. The condition is min width, that is our media feature, and then the value 720px, and then of course the open angle bracket and close angle bracket, and then this is where we're going to put in the CSS property. All right, so let's try that. Let's open up our Notepad++. Okay, actually I got it right here. So media query. Okay, all right, I've got it right here. Oh no. Not the orientation, hold on. All right. Okay, so we have here the basic structure of the HTML, and then this time we are just using internal CSS. So we're not gonna connect any external CSS just for the sake of this example. So again, by default, the body would be light blue. All right, and then we use the media rule to set if the minimum width or the size of this screen is between 720 to 1079. That means if the screen is 720p and wider, then the background color will change to light green. And then if the media screen or the browser screen is 1080 pixels or wider, then the background color is going to change to lavender. So let's save that and let's run it. Okay. All right. So okay, right now, the background color is, it's not very clearly visible, but this is lavender. Let's try to change that instead. Hold on. Let's change that just to make sure. Blue, just to be very clear. Let's change that to blue. Okay, let's check. So why is it that it's displaying blue? Because in our condition, the minimum width is 1080p pixels. So that means if the browser screen has minimum width of 1080, that means it's 1080 or wider. So obviously my screen is 1080, and actually the screen size or this screen resolution, particular screen resolution is 1080 by 1920. So we have 1080 horizontal and then 1920 vertically. Or I'm sorry, the vertical is 1080 and then horizontal is, or the width is 1920 and then the height is 1080. So obviously, since this is 1920 pixels, that is wider than the condition. Again, the condition is if the width is 1080 or wider, di ba? 1920 is wider than 1080. So that's why this is being, this particular media rule is in effect because the condition here is true. This screen is wider than 1080. However, um, if we start decreasing the size or the width, that's the time that here. Let's try to decrease that. Okay. All right. So notice that in for this particular size or width, it is now changed to light green. This one, because the size, the the width now has changed to 720 or wider. So kanisha, this is 720 and wider. So that's why the background color has changed to light green. Diba? Now, if we're going to continue decreasing width, all right, so that's the time that it's gonna use the light blue because it is now less than 720. All right, so that is how you are going to. That is how the add media rule works. So depending on the condition that you set, okay. So basically, the condition is enclosed with this parenthesis. So you can either set minimum width or maximum width, diba? Or you can also set it to the orientation. So whether the device is portrait or landscape. Okay, so that's that. So let's try that. How about if the screen, we're going to set whether the screen is portrait or landscape. But right now, my screen is currently on landscape mode because I'm using desktop. Diba? Since this is desktop, so basically it's landscape. So let's close this and let's open up another example. So how about if you're going to use the media rule set as with orientation here. So that is an example that uses the minimum width or changing the background color depending on the width. Another example is we're going to use media queries to set the background color to light green if the orientation is landscape and then light blue if the orientation is portrait. Okay, so to do that, we're going to use the same syntax. So we have at media and then screen since we'll be using browser, and then orientation, which is our media feature, and then landscape, that is the value, and then change the background color to light green if the orientation is landscape, and then light blue if it's portrait. So let's try that. Let's open up our so yeah, Notepad++ here. Okay, so in this example, we are going to change the color of the background to light green if it's in landscape, and then light blue if it's in portrait. Let's try to run that one. Okay, so right now it is, since this is landscape, the color is light green. However, if we'll try to, okay, let's change the orientation to portrait. Portrait, it means, di ba, landscape pag mas dako ang width compared sa height, and then portrait if pag mubo ang width kaysa height. So right now it's color green because it's in landscape mode, and then this time it's light blue because it's in portrait mode. Another way to check this, if you're using mobile phone, obviously not everybody has laptop to check. So if you'll be working on your phone, then you just have to, most of the time you'll be using the portrait and landscape media feature. So another way to check whether it's working is to right click and then inspect element, or inspect, and then here just click this icon, toggle device toolbar. Okay, click that, and then it will simulate a mobile device's screen. So right now it's on iPhone 10. You can select the list of devices that we have here. So we have Moto G4, Galaxy S5, Pixel 2, Pixel 2 XL. So right now it's on iPhone 10. Okay, or you can also set it yourself. So just click on edit and then add custom device. So let's say, for example, my phone is a Realme 5 Pro. All right. So we just have to set the size of my phone. So to check what is the screen size of your phone, just go to gsmarena.com, and then on that search box, type in your device. In my case, it's Realme 5 Pro. And then go to the resolution here. So we have 1080 by 2340. 1080 2340. So that is what I'm going to put in Kane. So the width is 1080, and then the height is 2340. And then click add. Alright. So next time I'm just going to select Realme 5 Pro here. Alright. And then to check, you can change the orientation by clicking this toggle rotate. So if this is going to be portrait, so it's light blue. If I'm going to set it to landscape, then that's it. It will change to um, light green because we set it to be color light green if landscape, and then if portrait, it's going to be light blue. All right. So that is how media rule set works. Okay, so here is another example from W3 schools. Let's check it out. So this website is, or this web design is currently on a desktop mode. However, if we're going to decrease the size, notice how it also changes from desktop mode and then to portrait mode or to mobile device mode. Diba? Okay, so that is also what we are going to do with our website. All right, welcome to the second part of this lesson. So, right now we're going to apply everything that we've discussed from the first part of the discussion. So we are going to add responsiveness to our existing website. Okay, so this is where we stopped last time. So we'll continue working from this point. Okay. All right. So before we proceed, there are just a few things that we're going to, or there are a few changes that we're going to add to our current web page or our design. It's because some of the design that we've implemented or some of the CSS properties that we've used for our website will tend to be a little bit complicated for us to learn as we go along. So, and that in particular, that will be using the flex display property. So I realized that if we're going to continue using the display flex property, it's going to be very complicated for us, especially for you guys. That's why we're just going to make it a little more easier, and that will be using a different kind of CSS property that will allow us to um, it is that will allow us to arrange our visual elements or our web elements horizontally. So it's going to everything is going to be just the same when we use the flex display property. Everything is going to be the same, but this time it will be much easier as we go along. Okay, so again, before we start, we're just going to add that changes. So first is we're going to hold on. Okay, so we're going to remove the display flex. We're going to remove that, and then we'll focus on here. Okay, let's add UL just to be just to be sure. And then we're going to add here, instead of flex, we're going to add inline block. Okay, and then as for the UL, we're going to remove this display flex property again. Instead, we're going to add inline block, and then we're going to set float right. Okay, same thing with the logo image. Instead of flex, we're going to use inline block. All right. Okay, let's save this for now, and then let's check what's going on. All right. Okay, and then it's okay. Right now, there are a little bit of change regarding our navigation, but don't worry, it will be fixed as we go along with today's lesson. So anyway, let's go back. Okay. All right. Another thing that we're going to change as well is we're going to remove this particular division because we didn't really use it in our CSS. So we're going to remove the navigation division. All right. So please try to keep up with the changes that we did so far. Try to take note. Okay. All right. And then, all right, that's it. And then we are now going to start writing or creating a navigate or responsive navigation to our website. So basically, this is what we are expecting our website is going to look like. All right. So if we're going to the inspect element, right here. Okay. Right now we are currently on mobile view. So this is what we are expecting our website is gonna look like once it is on mobile. Okay. Let's close that. All right. So to do so, the first thing that we're going to do is to um, we're going to create a button that will trigger this animation, kaning action. Kani. So we're going to add. Oh no, that's not the web page. Here, okay, we're going to add this particular icon so that whenever we click this animation will be triggered. Okay, or whenever we click this icon, this animation or this function will be triggered, basically. Okay, so to do so, let's go back to our source code. The first thing that we're going to do is to add a checkbox. Let me arrange this real quick. Okay, so we are going to add a checkbox using the input element. And then let's call it, or basically the type would be checkbox. Again, input type checkbox, and then let's call it check. Okay. And then once we already have the checkbox, we are going to label the checkbox. So to do so, just add label, and then for, and then let's use the ID, which is check. Diba? Ang ID is check, so we are going to label the ID na check. And then class, and then let's call it class button, or sorry, check button. Okay, and then this time we are going to add the actual bar icon. So to do so, if you can remember, I asked you to download the Font Awesome library. So for us to add the bars, or the bar icon, so we're going to use I, and then the class, use this class, FAS space FA dash bars. Okay, slash I, and then close the label. All right, so we have an input type, which is a checkbox, and then we label the checkbox. In that way, we'll be able to use it for triggering the animation. So let's save that. Let's save both of the files, and let's check what's going on now. Okay, nana. All right, so naata dire. So we're just going to decrease the size of our logo. For some reason, nilapaw siya maayo. So let's go back to our source code again, or CSS file rather, and then let's give it okay, how about let's give it 70 px. Let's check. Okay, all right, so that's it for now, or let's increase it a little more, 72 perhaps. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, so now we have the bar as well as a checkbox. However, we don't want this checkbox to display as well as this bar, because right now we are currently on mobile view. Oh, I'm sorry, desktop view. We only want the bar to display whenever we're on mobile view, basically. Pag dapat makita na nato siya if we are on mobile view. So right now, since we are on desktop view, we are going to hide it. So to do so, let's open up our main CSS. We're still working on our main CSS here, okay? We're still working on the main CSS, and then let's add a CSS property here. Let's call in, okay, let's call in the ID check. That means we'll be using hash check, and then set the display to none. Okay, that's the same thing with the check button. For the check button, we use class, therefore we'll be using dot. So check button, or check btn, and then okay, let's set the display to none. All right, let's save that, and then let's reload. Okay, so it should be gone now. It's still in here, however it is not displayed because we asked our CSS property to hide it for the meantime. Don't worry, we're going to make it appear again once we were working on the media query for mobile device. All right, so okay, so everything is ready. So let us now start with our media query. So we can either just write it below here. We can just add the CSS for mobile view here in sa pinakaubos. However, we already have 180 plus lines of codes, and then if we're going to add more, then it would be a little bit hard for us to maintain or to manage or organize it all. So what I would suggest is we're going to create a separate file. So let's open up our folder here, and then go to CSS, and then let's add a new file, a CSS file to be exact. Let's call it media.css. Make sure to remove the txt file format. Okay, and then let's open it up. Okay, all right. So what we're going to do is we have to make sure that this is going to work here in my end. So please be very please be very careful in choosing the right width on your end. So here's what am I going to set in my end. So it's gonna be at media, if you can remember, at media, and then screen, since we will be using this for screen, and then and. All right. So in my case, again, it will be totally depending on the situation where you want your website to be displayed. Right here in my end, my the entire screen of okay, the entire resolution of this screen is 1080p, that's horizontal, and then 1920 pixels vertically. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure that um, whenever the screen sizes change from 0 to 1080, all right, px. Okay, all right. Whenever the web page detects that the screen it is being worked on or it is displayed on has 1080 and below, as for the width, then all of these CSS properties will be applied. Okay. However, in your case, if you don't have any laptop on your own, you can just use your mobile device. So, for those of you who doesn't have any laptop or personal computer, this is what I would suggest to you to. This would be my suggestion as for the media query. You're going to use at media screen and. All right. So instead of using the max width or minimum width or so on and so forth or any other media feature, instead I would suggest to use the orientation. Kana yung buhaton, and then I'm sorry, excuse me, portrait. Yeah, portrait. Okay. Again, this is only for those who doesn't have any computers or laptop. For those who will be only be using their phones to run the program or to run the website, this is what I want. This is I would want to suggest. Kaniyang ganahan yung buhaton because all you need to do is to test whether if you're going to um, auto rotate, if you're going to rotate your phone, for example, if it's landscape, then that is your desktop mode, and then if it's portrait, then that is your mobile mode. Okay, so that's it. However, for those who have computers at home, make sure to set um, the exact, let's say, width for your media query. In my case, for this to work properly, I'm going to use 1080p, 1080 pixels. Okay, so hold on. Okay, so the first thing that perhaps that we want is to, diba, gaya na sa tong style.css, we hide the checkbox as well as the bar icon. So this time we're going to display it. So to do so, let's call in the dot check button, and then let's set the display to um, no, let's set the display to black for now, and then let's increase the size to about 50px, and then line height to about 50px as well. All right. So we're this time, now that we have our media CSS already, we are going to make sure that it is connected to our main CS or main HTML file. So to do so, we are going to add it in our the header file. So again, you should be able to write it now properly. So again, let's just double duplicate our previous CSS link, and then we're just going to change the file into media .css. So let's check whether if it's working now. Let's save both of these files and let's reload, and then let's check it in. Okay, all right. So we know now that our media CSS is working. It's because ni-display na ang iyahang katong a bars icon. All right, so we'll continue working on it now. Hold on. All right, and then what else? Okay, all right, so we'll continue working on the check button. So we're going to set, we're going to move it to the right. So we're going to add property float and then set it to right. And then let's change the color to white. And then let's set the line height. Okay, we already have that going on. All right, let's try to increase the, that's it for now. Let's set the cursor pointer. Let's set the cursor to pointer. That means whenever we hover to that icon, the cursor will change to a pointer. It would be, this would be optional. And then let's check. Let's reload. Let's inspect. Okay, na siya sa right side. All right. So this time we are going to hide our navigation panel because we want the navigation bars to display only if we click this icon, diba? That's our goal. So to do so, let's go back to our source code. Let's call in the nav and then UL. So first is we want to set the position to fixed so that it will not scroll out, scroll down, or scroll up together with the screen. And then let's set the width to 100%. That means it will automatically cover the entire width of the screen. And then let's set the height to 100 vertical height. That means it will cover the entire screen vertically. And then the background, let's set it to this color, 2C3E50. And then let's set a margin perhaps at the top. Let's perhaps give it 55 pixels. And then let's move it to the left. Okay, let's move it to the left and let's try to give it 100%. Negative 100%. That means whenever we give it negative 100%, everything will be moved to the left side, which will, our goal is to kanang mataguan siya ba? Then it will only display once we click on the bar icon. All right, and then we'll set the text alignment to center, and then whenever we click the bar or the icon, the animation will take for about 0.5 seconds. Okay, let's check, let's reload, and then let's inspect. Okay, so right now nasa sa Dublin. Nasa sa Dublin. However, medyo kulang pa dahil siya, kaya pa siya gamay makita. So let's try to increase the kaning left na margin. Let's give it about 120 instead. Okay, now it's perfectly gone. Now, this time, we want it that whenever we click this icon, kato siyang nasa left side, mubalik siya sa atong screen. So to do so, here's what we're going to do. Excuse me. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. Let's call in the ID check, the one that we just labeled. Okay, and then whenever it is checked, okay, that means whenever we click it, and then let's add to let it know that whenever we click the UL, I'm sorry, whenever we the checkbox is checked, then the UL will change its left margin to 0. That means it will go back to the original position. Okay. Again, when for this line, kung ma-check na to ang ID check, which is kani, whenever ma-check na nato ang check button, ang UL ma-change ang iyahang margin left from negative 120 to 0. That means mubalik siya sa tunga. So let's try that. Let's save and then let's reload. Let's try. All right. So it's working. Diba? And it's now happening in 0.5 seconds. Let's increase the size real quick. Okay, perhaps we can change the top a little bit. So let's give it about 50px. Kinaigamay nga. Okay, that is much better. Okay, now the next thing that we're going to do is, since right now it is displaying horizontally, diba? Ganahan ta this time nga, kaning home, blog, projects, and about will be displayed from top to bottom. So to do so, okay, so we'll call in the nav ULLI, and then we're going to set the display to block, and then margin, let's give it for about 50px top and bottom, and then 0 left and right. And then line height, let's give it about 30px, and then the default color is white. Check. Okay, kana. However, murag gamay ra kay ang atong fonts. Let's try to increase everything. So let's open up. Okay, kana padak-an natong ato ang font this time. Okay, to do so, we're going to call in the nav ULLIA. Let's try to set the font size to let's try to give it 32px, and then display, same thing. Or I think we don't necessarily have to write the display since we've already declared it right here. So let's save that. Let's reload. Okay, nidako siya. But gamay ra gyapon, di ba? We can either increase the size more. So let's give it about 50. Let's see. Okay, that's much better. Okay. All right. Okay. Perhaps we can. For some reason, it's not too centered. Dili siya center kaayo. So let's try to change this. Let's give it about negative 20 lang daw, instead of 0, because 0 tend to be a little bit on the right side man siya. Let's try to change it daw to negative 20 instead of 0. Let's check. Ay, no, 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 no. Negative 20%. Nalimot nag-add sa percent. Let's save. Let's reload. Oh no, kulang. How about positive 20? I guess. Let's reload. Oh no. Okay, so dapat 0 jud siya. It's okay. 0, and then let's reload again. All right. Okay, I think that's fine. All right, so we're just going to make sure that everything will, kani, if i-hover na to on blog, everything will also change, just to make sure, or just to let our, just for us to know that we don't necessarily have to hover this. It's because, again, this is for touch or mobile. This is mobile device, so we're not supposed to hover. We're just supposed to tap it. Okay, so um, I think it's working fine now. We just have to change the rest of the website, or the web page rather. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to perhaps change or increase the size of our banner. Diba? Gamay kay siyang text. So let's try to increase that. So to do so, let's call in the banner. Okay. So, giyon sa nato pag-design ang banner last time. Here. Banner. Where are you, banner? The ara. Okay. Alright, so we're going to call the banner. And then, here's what we're going to do. Um, no. Let's proceed with the H1 right away. So again, what we want to change the size is the header, kaning Juleus Publico Designs. So we'll call in the banner and then H1, and then let's set the width to 70% only. That means it will only cover 70% of the entire screen. And then text align, and then sorry. Let's set the color to white. Okay, let's check. Okay, and then text align to center. Okay, and then let's try to increase the size. Let's give it about 50% daw sa mahitabo. Ano, nigamay siyang mayo. 200%. Gamay rin siya kaayo. Let's just give it a specific size na lang. How about if we're going to give it 100 pixels? 100 pixel na size. Okay. Alright. Okay, I think that's better. And then we're just going to increase our katong atong tagline, which is kaning creativity simplified. So same thing that we're going to do. Let's call in hash banner h3, and then let's give it a little bit of boost. I'm sorry, I was working on it. Okay, again, let's call in the hash banner and then h3, and then let's give it increase of font size about 50px. Save, and then let's reload. Okay, all right, I think that's better. However, there's just a few things that I would like to add with this koan kaning while we are on the mobile view. I want to change the background color. So right now the background color is this kani 3.jpg. I'd like to change it to kani no, yeah, I'd like to change it to this one kaning darker nga version. Same ra gyapon siya nga picture. However, it's a darker shade of the picture. So the file name is 3.png. So to do so, I'm going to call in the entire banner. And then let's change the background to this URL. Let's set the location. And then dot slash the folder name, which is underscore img. And then 3.png. Okay. Let's check if MOBA pn. Oh yeah, 3.png. And then let's set the background attachment to fix. That way it will not scroll in and out, up and down rather. And then let's set the background size to cover. That means it will cover up the entire screen. And then the background repeat, let's just set it to no repeat. Save that. Let's reload. Okay. All right. So we're using the same picture. However, kuha na siya, kato na siyang darker na picture. All right. The next thing that we're going to do is we are going to we'll increase, basically since we're doing it on mobile, so everything must be bigger. Diba? Everything must be bigger. In that way, mas makita siya, mabasa siya sa ato ang mga readers. So, what the next thing that we're going to do is this. Instead of having two pictures na magtapad, dapat usa lang ang picture nga magtapad, and we will increase all the sizes or all the font size. Okay? So, let's start with kanang pictures. So, if you can remember back in our CSS, that is called cards. Or HTML rather. So, we use asa na ron? Card kani. So, previously, the card size is 45%, diba? Now, let's increase it to 100%. So, let's call that card, and then let's go to width to 100%. Let's save, and then let's reload. Okay, dako na siya, na-cover na, usa na siya, magpasunod na siya, diba? Dili na siya tuntag duwa, tags na. So that means it's a little bit easier to read compared to what we did last time. Diba? Okay. And then next is we're going to increase the size of the all blocks. And then right now it is on the left side, we are going to move it to the center, and we're going to increase the font size. So previously, hold on, asa na ron siya? There. It's H2 under main, H2. And let's check what was the previous properties for H2. Na bata to? Href, H2, H2. Ano? Section heading. Dara. Section heading. Okay? So we're going to copy this. Copyon lang nato na. Ano no? Alright. No. We don't necessarily have to copy. We're just going to add on the things that we're going to change. So let's call it here dot section heading, and then let's increase the font size. Let's increase that to, let's say, 50px, and then let's reload. Okay, nidako-dako na siya gamay. Let's try to increase it a little bit more. How about 60? Oops. Okay, all right, so I think that's better. So this time you're just going to move it to the center. So to do so, okay, let's try this. Let's try to move it to the center. Let's call in the main element, and then let's set the text alignment text align to center. Let's check. Okay. All right. That's better. Okay. That's better. All right. Okay. And then next, we're going to increase the size of our read more button. So let's open that up. So previously, the button read more. Asa na ron dara? Previously, the size is, hold on. Okay, wala nakabutang unsay size, so we're just going to call this one. And then, okay, and then let's try to set the font size. Font size. Let's give it about 30 px. Let's check. Okay, alright, that's much better. Alright, let's increase it a little more. How about 40? Okay, alright, that's better. Okay, and then we're just going to add a division from the blogs, all blogs, and then all projects. So let's go back to our index, or sorry, our index.html. So, and then, all right, here. Oh, no, no, here, section. Okay, let's call in the section. And let's add a border button, bottom. And then let's add a solid color red. And then about 10 px. Let's check. Okay, how about not red? Isa na to ang color. How about, how about this color lang? Let's use an existing color just to be consistent. How about this color? Save, and then let's reload. All right, okay, all right. So that's just cool. Okay, so that's much better. Next is we're going to work with our footer. This would be the last part. So previously, let's check our footer. How did we design it? At the bottom, kani, mao ni siya. We have footer left side and footer right footer. All right. So right now, currently our footer is divided into two areas. We have left and right. But this time we want both of them to be stacked vertically. So the quick links should be at the top. The follow me on social networking sites, basically shortcuts, will be at the bottom. So all we need to do is we're going to call the kane. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. First is let's set our footer display block. Okay. And then let's call in the footer and then left footer. Okay. Let's remove the border right kani, border right. Dapat mawala na siya. Okay, since na naman sa ubos. And then we'll move it at the bottom. So border right, none. And then border bottom red. So we have 1px. Let's give it 5px now. 5px and then solid. And then text align. Okay, nothing to worry about. Alright, so let's check. Let's reload. Okay, alright. Okay, that's it. And then we're going to increase the font size. So footer, let's increase the font size to about let's give it about 50 px. Oh, dako ra kaayo. Let's about 40. Okay, that's better. But we want to keep this website is developed by Juleus Publico. I want that to be smaller. So let's check giun sa nato na siya. Kanin P. So footer and then P. So footer and then P. Let's change the font size to, let's give it about 25 px now. Let's check. Alright, gamirap kaayo. How about 30? Okay, I think that's it. Okay, that's it. And then lastly, we're just going to increase the size of our social networking site icons. Diba? Kinsa na to na siya. So here. Okay, so we'll call it this way. So we have footer, and then UL, LI, and then I. Okay, and then let's change. Right, so we have footer, diba? And then we have UL, and then LI, then I. So because the I is what we're trying to increase the size. So let's increase the font size. Let's give it about let's say well, 30 px. Oh no, that's the same thing. How about let's change that to 50. Gamay ra gyapon. Let's give it 70. Alright. No, let's increase it a little more. 80. Okay, and then let's just add space between them. So margin 0, that is top and bottom, and then let's give it 10 px for left and right. Let's increase it a little more, about 15, 20 rather. Okay, that's better. Okay. Alright, so we're just going to perhaps increase. Alright, so I think that's it. So we finally done it. We're able to set our website to be responsive to different screen size and resolution. So again, this is how I do it. This is how I used screen max width 1080p because that is a screen size of the size of my screen. However, in your case, for those who doesn't have any computers or personal laptops, so instead of using max width or minimum width as your um, media feature, try to use the orientation. So you can set if naka landscape, naka desktop mode, and then if portrait, your on mobile mode. Okay. All right. So that's it for today. Now, what you're going to do is I want you guys to try. Okay, I want you guys to try it to do it on your own, on your website rather, and then let's see if it will work on your end. Okay, and then submit your work through our Google Classroom. I'm going to upload a classwork right there. Okay, so you'll be given up until, or I'll give you 2 weeks again. So you're going to submit it by Thursday or Friday na lang, Friday, June 18th of 2021. So basically, since diba, right now, for your current assignment or for your current midterm requirement, I ask you to add websites or web pages. Diba? We have home, blog, projects, and about. So ask you to fill this up with web pages. And then, in addition to that, okay, let's instead of 18, about 25. By June 25th, I want you guys to create or design responsive. Add responsiveness to your website using this the same thing that we did right now. Okay. And then again, if you have any questions or clarifications, please let me know, or you can send in your questions through our respective Facebook chat groups. Okay. So thank you so much for making this far. I hope you guys enjoyed the lesson, and I'll see you guys in our next lessons. Okay, please keep yourself safe, and God bless us all.